Well, Bear, I forgot my Tom Brady deflated football, but it is football season. It's here.
Has it been confiscated yet for court
Well,
purposes, or
my cell phone has, but the football,
the football is not?
still
Okay.
here at the office.
All right.
So,
Well, I think the football is flying on Friday night at various stadiums around the state for the start of the high school season. We'll have properly inflated footballs.
I think so too, and maybe. Well, probably not. We probably won't have an actual decision on that whole Brady thing before then. But
No, and it's going to get drawn out. If he's not under center game one, I'd be shocked.
so dumb.
Yeah,
It's
it is
so
dumb. I agree.
Let's
High school's not
we're
dumb.
gonna, no, we're gonna talk about kind of the previous stuff we had in our tab in the Gazette this week. Probably touch on some Badgers and Packers as well. This is gonna be an all football extra points.
Gridiron.
That's coming up right now. Just stay with us. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Extra Points. We will now get back to our regularly scheduled weekly programming instead of this.
We taking the
Once
show on the
every-
road at all?
I don't know. We'll see. But
Okay,
for now,
all right.
we're sticking right in our.
I think Lambeau or Camp Rand will be a good
that
spot
would
to
be
host
good.
the show. Yeah.
I'm sure they'd like the mileage bill and
I'm
head
sure
up to
they
Lambeau,
would.
and I'm sure they'd
Yeah.
just let us in on a
We could
random
take company
Wednesday.
jet. That wouldn't be that bad, would it?
For here, right now, we're sticking right here in our swanky little studio.
Okay.
Here.
All right.
But we are going to talk football all day long today, and we'll bring you every week for the next 9, 10, 11, 12. Hey, as long as the teams keep going weeks.
That's right.
We'll bring you previews.
What would take 14 weeks to win a state title? Is that right? Or 15?
14, I think.
14. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, if we're here 14 weeks from
that'd
now,
be
that would
great.
be good.
Yes.
We'll talk about who we think has the best chance to get us to that point. We'll talk about Janesville teams, the little Badgers, the little Packers. This is John Barry. He is the
I'm the
sports
guru.
writer
I'm the
slash
guru.
high school guru of the Janesville Gazette.
Yes.
I'm Eric Schmoldt, the sports editor, and this is Extra Points, where we talk about local sports. Behind us, we have this swanky little tab here, this football preview that we put together over the weekend. It came out Wednesday. Hopefully you picked it up. If you didn't, call the Gazette. I'm sure we can get you one.
We can get you one. It's a must read.
It previews 14 teams, 4 conferences, a schedule, and pretty much everything you need to know heading into the season. But let's touch a little bit now. Should we start with the Janesville teams?
Okay.
Would you want to go east side or west
Well,
side?
let's see. You're going to see the Vikes play on Friday, so tell me a little bit about Parker and maybe what we can expect from first-year coach Clayton Krieger and the Vikings.
Yeah, it's a new era over there. Parker going to host Middleton Friday night, 7 o'clock, Monterey Stadium. Be there as the Clayton Krieger era begins. I think, Parker's won 7 games in the last 3 years combined, but I think that their confidence is fairly high. They've got athletes. They've got speed. It's just a matter of, can they make the plays? Can they get those guys in space on offense where they can utilize that speed? And can those guys tackle and make the plays on defense to where they're stopping teams? I think there's a lot of optimism on the west side as things get started here, and I think you sense that as well.
I do, and I think more than anything, I think it's important that the Vikes don't put all their eggs in one basket for that opening game. It's Middleton. It's one of the 2 or 3 powerhouses of the conference. They're the prohibitive favorite to repeat as champion. They've got good size and Cam Maley back in the backfield. So I think you got to look at it as a game for Parker where, if Middleton comes down and puts a whipping on him, then I guess all bets are off. But if the Vikings can stay competitive, keep it close, not saying they're going to win the game, but at least keep it close and give the rest of the Big Eight the idea that, hey, Parker football is coming back, and you better bring your A game when you play us on Friday nights.
It would be nice to see a close game. I think they're ready to be competitive and they want to win games. I'm not sure and I'm sure they would love to beat Middleton and really make a statement. I'm not sure that's going to happen. For this game, to me, it's more they're going to look at I think it'll be more of looking at the film and saying, hey, these are the things that we've installed and put in, and they're working. They worked at times, and we got some things done, rather than really look at the final score.
I would agree. And I think a lot of times the old adage is you see the most improvement in a football team from week 1 to week 2. And with Janesville Craig on the docket in week 2, certainly, both sides of town would like to see that. But I think for Parker, with that speed, that doesn't always translate into football.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing. You got to get that speed to be productive. And I know going with the sophomore quarterback and Jordan Bailey, I don't think they're going to ask a whole lot of him, but he is athletic, and he's going to be forced to make some plays on his own. And if he can do that and the offensive line can block, Parker's probably capable with the athletes that they have of scoring some points. It's just, can they stop anybody? And Middleton's a good way to start to find out if that's going to happen or not.
Yep, they've got DJ Vance and Eric Schumacher in the backfield. I think they like that 1-2 punch. Yep. I think they've got some guys up front. Malik Williams, obviously. I mean, their best players last year were sophomores.
Yeah.
Malik Williams, Ed Jacobson, Sandy Toyer. They were all second team, I think,
all conference,
or at least honorable mention.
Yep.
They were all sophomores and played really well. So your best players coming back are juniors. I think that bodes pretty well for where the program's headed. The speed guys that we talked about, Toyer, Vance.
I wouldn't want to kick off to those two.
Thornton,
Jaden Ellis.
Mark Brooks.
There's kids that can run. So again, Parker, I think more than anything, and it's no disrespect to the former regime and the people that were there, I just think it's going to be exciting brand of football again, and I think it's going to put at least football on the West Side back where it's relative once again, and we haven't been able to say that the last 4 or 5 years.
And they've got some guys that have been a part of that. Obviously, Clayton was there back in the early 2000s when they started winning conference championships,
yep.
And he's got Joe Dye on his staff and a couple other guys that
Dick Shue's been a long-time member of that staff, and he'll have that defense ready. Tom Scalisi's helping out with the running backs, so he's got good assistants, and I think as a first-year head coach, that's what you need. You need people that have been there, that know what it's like to prepare for each and every Friday night, and looking forward to seeing the Vikings play.
As a transition over to Craig, that we talked about that Week 2 game, to me, I see one of these teams making the playoffs, I think, getting to 5 wins. I think it's possible, and I think whoever wins that game, I mean, that game could be the swing game. Whoever wins that game is going to be the team that probably has the chance to get to 5.
Yep, I think you're right, and I think when you look at the conference, I think certainly Middleton, Sun Prairie probably locks for a playoff bid. Middleton, I think, is looking for their 20th or 21st in a row or something like that, so that's a pretty good record streak they got going. But I think Middleton, Sun Prairie are locks. Madison West got a lot of talent back. They were 3 straight years to the playoffs. Mass Memorial, some real good kids led by Jake Ferguson, Barry Alvarez's grandson. And then I think you'd have to look at La Follette, Parker, Craig, possibly as those teams to get those final couple of spots.
Let's talk about Craig. You talked to Coach Ben McCormick for our preview. Give us a little snippet of what we expect to see. They go down to Beloit on Friday to open their season.
Well, I think when I talked to Ben, they hadn't had their scrimmage yet, and he was excited. He thought that he had some kids that had really made some strides during the offseason, whether it was getting a little bit stronger in the weight room and maybe realizing that the athleticism wasn't going to fall off as much as he had thought, to having a really poor scrimmage. Did not go well with Melton, Badger, and Waterford. I think the one thing Ben took out of that was they ran 75 plays. He said there were probably 72 of those plays where he missed an assignment. But he said those are correctable things, and certainly something that we have to look at on film before their opener at Beloit. I think for the Cougars, certainly, when you replace 22 starters, basically, you got to start somewhere. And Ben's hoping for some kids that saw limited action last year to kind of step up to the forefront this year. And I think for Craig, the best thing is to open with Beloit. A team that was 0-9 last year, hasn't won many games at all in the last 10 years.
Don't have the numbers out.
Don't have the numbers again this year. So, I mean, if you're going to be young and inexperienced, I'd much rather open with a team like Beloit than, say, Parker with a team like Middleton. But, the Cougars are going to have to find an identity, and certainly with Parker on the schedule in Week 2, they're going to have to find that identity early if they are going to make a playoff run.
Well, I would think that the scrimmage would be a wake-up call. I mean, these players were on the team last year, a lot of them at least, that saw them go to the playoffs, and maybe just a wake-up call that it's not a given just because you went last year that you're going to show up and get back there again this year.
Right.
And maybe that makes him put in a little extra work this week and getting things ready.
And that's what Ben talked about. He said the two things that have to happen on that opening night at Beloit are, A, we've got to protect the football, and that means not putting it on the ground. And evidently in the scrimmage, it was kind of hot potato for a while with the Cougars when they had the ball. And the other thing was, he said we have to eliminate the mental mistakes. We have to be able to know where we're supposed to be on each and every play, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, whatever it is. He says we can't miss an assignment because sometimes that missed assignment is the difference between maybe a 1 or 2 yard gain or a play going the other way on defense or a play getting busted up in the backfield on offense.
Give us a couple of names to watch out for. They lost a lot.
They did
like
lose
we
a
said,
lot.
But I mean, just some guys that people should be aware of as they go down to Beloit.
Last year, Harry Hensler was such a big cog in the middle at linebacker, and I think this year a kid like Clay Martin, who had started to see a lot of action last year before breaking his leg, he's a guy that Ben's very high on. He'll probably be on both sides of the ball. Certainly, Nick Kramer saw some limited action at quarterback. He did start the last 2 games of the year. He's going to get the nod in the opener at quarterback, and a good athlete. He was a starting pitcher in Craig's state championship baseball game, so there's a kid who Ben thinks is a very good athlete. Some other guys,
hard for me to wrap my mind around it because we called him a sophomore because he was when he pitched. And now it's only 50 days later,
exactly.
And we have to call him a junior now.
Now he's a junior.
I got to get it through my head.
And I think defensively, Ben was most secure or most the one area of concern that he had the least about was the secondary with Peter Larson, the senior, Jared Filter, a senior. Those 2 guys are kind of the backbone of the secondary where Ben hopes that along with a pretty athletic linebacker group can be able to do a better job of stopping the run, which was a problem for the Cougars last year.
What do you think? Somebody make the playoffs from Janesville?
If I had to guess now, I would say no.
Okay.
I would say no, but hopefully I'm wrong on both accounts.
I will say Parker makes it.
Okay. All right.
You've got the predictions here, people. Don't come for our heads when we're wrong.
No, please don't. I hope we are wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong and they both fly in it and one's 9-0 and the other one's 8-1.
Well, I don't. Now you're making some real crazy predictions.
Well,
Let's not get carried away.
All right, let's not. You know who could go 9-0?
Evansville, Albany. You're going to go straight to the Rock. We'll go to the Rock North next. All right. Yeah, Evansville, Albany. We told you we'd make our prediction for which team could get us through 14 weeks, and I think that's the best chance. Now, if they get into Division 3, that's going to be a tougher road than Division 4, but I guess we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. But Evansville, Albany shared the conference title last year in the Rock North. They have almost everybody back from that team. They're set up for a nice little run.
They are. And I think the one thing, I know for a number of years, if you take Bigfoot and Broadhead Judah, really the Rock Valley South, especially in the postseason, had more success. I think this year that kind of flip-flops. I think the North going to be very dominant. I would be surprised if the North in the crossover games, whether they count or don't count, because we don't even...
They do in Week 8.
They are at Week 8. They're going to count. But I think you're going to see the North winning the majority of those battles just because I think there's a lot more talent and a lot more, I
mean, they've won 80% of them as it is. They might win 100% of them.
100% this year. But
although it will be more level. You'll get 6 versus 6,
yes,
so that gives a Parkview or a Turner maybe a chance to snag one.
And that's what we wrote about a little bit in the tab was the fact that the North, I think it's Evansville Albany's to lose, and I think if they don't win the North, it would be a stunner. Whereas in the South...
Up for grabs
with Clinton, Broadhead Judah, and Bigfoot. And I still think, when all's said and done, I still like the Cougars to come out of there with the South title. But you never know. I mean, it's why they play the games, and it's an old cliche, but it's true. And at this point, it's too hard to tell. I mean, we don't know what. Everybody looks good on paper. Every coach will tell you that they're excited and
they're having a great camp.
Yeah, and we've had a great offseason.
Friday's been great,
which is what you want to hear.
Right.
But sometimes
somebody's going to lose Friday.
Yeah, you can't win every game. No.
Let's quick go through the teams in the North. Evansville, Albany. I mean, they've got a great. Zach Mielke started as a freshman quarterback, played just fine. I don't ask him to be Dan Marino, but does just fine, does well. Great athlete, as he showed last year, playing as a freshman on multiple varsity sports. Behind him, a great group of running backs. I think Redders probably will lead the area in rushing.
I would agree.
Riker Brown could be second. It depends on how many carries
he may
they each
lead
get.
the league in pancake blocks. So,
well, he had 600 yards last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see both of those guys rushing for 1,000 yards depending on how many carries they get. And then you still have Brendan Banks.
And he's a wild card. I mean, let's face it, that kid is built like a brick outhouse, and he's the kind of kid that when he gets going downhill, he's going to be tough to stop because he's quick and he's shifty. We've seen that on the basketball court.
And then on the defensive side, it seems like they've got every wrestler that comes out for football. I mean, Jordan Meyer goes out last year, first team all conference. They've got Chase Katzenmeyer. They've got Nolan Kismel's going to play over there. I mean,
play.
When you got those tough guys who you just don't want to mess with those guys, and then they've got them all stacked up on the other side of the line.
And don't lose sight of the fact that Ron Grostein's the head coach. And Ron, there are not many around that have had more success in a storied career than that man has. And I think this is year 104 of being the head coach at Evansville or something like that.
I don't know if it's that far. It's 40,
it's a log, 41 or something like that.
Yeah.
But Grover will have those kids ready, and everyone says, well, our weight program and our off season, but I can tell you right now, Evansville, Albany's off-season conditioning program and weight program is as good as anyone's around. Those kids are big, and they really work hard on power training and powerlifting, and those are some big, strong kids.
What about an Edgerton and a Whitewater? Edgerton, no Ricky Williams, got a lot to replace. Didn't exactly have what'd they win last year? 3 or 4
games, yeah. And talking to Mike Gregory, I think Mike's biggest thing is we got to stay healthy. He says we don't have the depth to compete with the Evansville Albanys and the McFarlands and the Jeffersons if we don't stay healthy. He said if we stay healthy, he says our system, with or without Ricky, we've proven that we can run it, and we can run it effectively on offense, and I don't think that's going to change much this year. I think more than anything, it's a chance for a lot of those kids last year who were maybe borderline varsity players to get a chance to show what they're made of and see what they can do. And I look at a guy like Dan Zimet who is going to be on the field, whether it's at quarterback or someplace else. He's going to play, and he's a good athlete. And that's what Mike is, I think, most impressed with right now is he's got a roster full of pretty good athletes.
And at Whitewater, I think a Whitewater team that could surprise some people and win more games than they have in the recent past. The new coach, Tom Grusinski, over there, a Whitewater guy through and through, born and raised, went to Whitewater High School, went to UW Whitewater. That's a guy I think that you want to help restore a program that used to be a playoff caliber program and just hasn't been recently. I don't know that they have we don't know who the big names are going to be because they didn't have those guys that were standouts necessarily last year, but I think they're on the uptick, and I think they can win a couple of games this year that maybe people won't see coming.
I would agree. And the one thing that I was always puzzled by was the fact that because of the success of the university, I would think that would have been a sleeping giant at the high school because those kids growing up in Whitewater see how successful that the college program was, and they would be all over football, but we just haven't seen that. Now, and I'm not blaming anyone for that. It's just the way it is, but maybe I think this is a turnaround.
I think it could be, and I think also it also could go the other way, and maybe it has, where everything focuses around those Saturdays in the fall, and everybody wants to go see the Warhawks because they've been so good that people kind of forget that the high school team's there on a Friday night.
Yep, you could be right. Yep.
Maybe if they win a couple of games and get going, people will recognize that and make it
winning solves a lot of problems.
Weekend.
A lot of problems.
In the South, so we like Evansville, Albany.
We like Evansville
north,
a lot.
Right?
A lot. Yes.
In the South. Let's just go through Broadhead Judah.
Broadhead Judah. Talked to a couple people that were at their scrimmage. Said they struggled. They don't have the big horses up front, and BJ will tell you that. I think they knew this time was coming. I think they knew that the era of the big boys with Maurer and Lincoln, and those kids are gone. But it's still Broadhead Judah, and they still have the state's longest playoff stretch, I think at 23 now, and I'd be stunned if it wasn't 24. I mean, just simply because they've got a schedule where nothing against the Turners and the Parkviews, but year in and year out, that's 2 wins.
Right, you just mark them down as W's.
Mark them down as wins, and then you got to get 2 more wins out of there somehow, and you're in, and I would expect that to happen. But
do you think that'll be the case this year? Are those 2 easy victories, or do you think these?
Well, I don't know enough about Turner or Parkview, but I guess going on
numbers,
I think they're going to be more competitive. Let's put it that way. Does that turn out to be more wins? I don't know, but I think Turner and Parkview will be more competitive, and I think in the same sense, Bigfoot and Broadhead Jr. are going to come back down to the pack, so to speak. I don't think they're going to be the dominant teams that they've seen in the last decade. I
think Parkview ends that 20-game losing streak. I will say that. That'll be a
okay.
Mark that down in your predictions as well.
Mark that down, Andy. Congratulations to Andy, who's going to be a father, by the way, in February. Congratulations to our producer.
Thanks.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, I think Parkview gets at least one win. I think they could feasibly win 2 or 3.
Yep, and I would say I don't think anyone's going to run the South as far as record-wise. I would expect a 1 or 2 loss team could still win that division,
especially with the crossover that counts. Against those top teams are going to play Evansville,
Albany, yep, and the Jefferson is going to play Jefferson and McFarland. So, but Bigfoot beat Jefferson last year, and
what do you think about? I mean, Bigfoot. They're still Bigfoot, even though they've lost a lot.
And Broadhead's still Broadhead Judah. Yeah. I mean, that's what you can't until they actually come back down to earth. It's hard to bet against them because they're there every year, and every year we want to say, well, this is the year that they rebuild, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But I like Clinton. I think Jeff Spiewak has done a good job. I know that the sophomore and freshman level last year, Clinton dominated the Rock Valley. I think between those two teams, they lost 1 game. And Jeff, with that no-huddle offense, I saw it last year at Broadhead Judah with the proper people in position. It's tough to defend. And that's an offense that the Rock Valley hasn't seen.
They got to replace a lot, though.
They
and
do.
If you're
starting with Derek Severson.
If you're going to run that offense, you got to have the people to do it. And I think they think that they do, but until you get out there and do it on Friday night, you don't know.
You don't know. But I think I do like the fact that they are going to score points. And in a league where your 2 top teams are going to be down, all that matters is who scores the most, and I think Clinton's got the most prolific offense, and I think that's the difference in them winning a conference
should
title.
Mention that they're going to be missing a couple of running backs for the first 2 weeks
yes.
due to suspension or injury. So I don't know if we're going to know a ton about that team until we really get into the Rock Valley schedule.
Which is okay because they open non-conference, so it obviously the conference games count more, but who knows? I think Friday night, I think the openers are going to tell us a lot about not all of the teams, but several of these teams are going to give us a better idea of kind of where they're at.
So you're taking Clinton?
I am taking the Cougars. Cougars and the Blue Devils.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a really, really long limb.
Okay.
I'm going to take Bigfoot.
Okay. All right. Boy, that's
really getting out there right now.
That's earth-shattering.
I'll just take the team that's won it.
Earth-shattering news.
They've won it every year since I graduated from high school, I think. So.
Uh-huh. Badger South.
Yeah, we'll talk Milton quick. I mean, we talked about Craig and how much they lost, but Milton almost lost just as much. They didn't lose every starter, but 6 guys.
They lost our player of the year.
6 guys that were all on our all-area team. The player of the year in Avery Osterhout. I mean, Tyler Westrick, just an all-everything kind of kid.
I think Tyler Westrick meant as much to Melton as Ricky Williams meant to Edgerton. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Melton, offensively, everything went through Tyler Westrick, and that's a huge, huge hole there. But Bill O'Leary, he'll have those kids ready. We'll know a lot about Melton, like a lot of these other teams. They open with a very improved, from what I hear, Baraboo team, and then the Wanakee Warriors come rumbling in week 2, and I don't have to tell you how good they've been for how long. So we'll know, again, a lot more about Melton in the first couple of weeks.
I think, they shared the conference title last year with a nice win over Monona Grove in week 9, and I think they could feasibly do the exact same thing, and it's going to probably come down to week 9.
That, yeah.
And they play over at Carl F. Anderson Field. F, right?
Yeah, and I think Monona Grove.
Got that initial right.
Monona Grove with Taryn Young coming back, the Iowa recruit. But now they open at is it New Glarus or Mount Hora Barneveld, and they might be the 2 best teams in the entire conference. So again, it's going to be. It'll be a dogfight again, and hopefully.
And talking to Bill O'Leary, it just seems like it's kind of open. I mean, there's 2 new coaches in the league. There's teams that lost a lot. There's teams that didn't lose quite as much.
Edgewood's going to be better. Stoughton's going to be better. Fort Atkinson, Steve Mahoney, I think, believes that the Blackhawks will be better. And, there's not really that, that poor stepsister that you can kick around so to speak, in the Badger South.
You're not supposed to kick your sister.
Well, you're not kicking her, but, it's...
Be nice to her.
All right, be nice to your stepsister, yes. But I just don't think there's that team that's a sure win. Let's put it that way. We put it that way?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's been Monroe, which
Right.
is hard for me to see because I used to watch them in the glory
Pat
days,
Martin days,
where my
yes.
parents are from. Used to go over there and see the cheese, but I don't know if they're back at all, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
How about in the Southern Lakes? We got Delavan, Darien, Elkhorn, and Lake Geneva Badger that are in our area. And last year there was a 4-team tie at the top. When half the conference shares the conference title.
I think it's Badgers to lose. I know Waterford's won the last 3 or shared the last 3 titles, but
and Badger wasn't part of that 4-team
I
group
think the
last year.
Badgers are maybe not a heavy favorite, but I think they're definitely favored. From everything I've read and looked at, the Badgers look like they've got the best team. But again, Waterford's right there. I tell you what, Delavan with Jake Benzing at quarterback, and they're going to be exciting to watch.
You're on that bandwagon, aren't
I
you?
am on the bandwagon. Jake Benzing is a heck of an athlete.
And Ethan Caesars is...
And he's no slouch.
Yeah.
I
Hey, run out there. I'll throw it up to you, and he's going to catch it.
They got to find ways to stop people. But if Jake Benzing gets on the outside, bye-bye. He's gone. They're not going to catch him. And, the Comets, Brett St. Arnold talked about it. He said, we want to come out early and dictate play and keep that rolling from week 1. They open with East Troy, and who knows? And Tom Lee at Elkhorn, I think.
You were in love with Elkhorn last year. You're not jumping off that way.
I'm not jumping off because Elkhorn, every year, I think, continues to surprise me. Every year, whether it's soccer or football or whatever, I always kind of not write them off, but I'm not ready to quite get on the bandwagon, but yet they're in
You
front
sleep
of the
on
pack.
them.
I do, yes. So again, I mean, you look at, I think the Lakes of all our conferences in the area is the toughest to call. I really do. I think anything else, I think the Big 8 with Middleton and Sun Prairie, the Badger South, I think Monona Grove's certainly a favorite there. Evansville, Albany's certainly a favorite, and maybe Clinton and brought in Bigfoot. But there's legitimately 5 teams in the Lakes who
That could win it. Yeah.
And that's what makes it so much fun. And 3 of them are local teams for us with Delavan, Clinton, or Delavan, Elkhorn, and Badger. So let's have at it.
So who are you taking? You're taking Badger.
Badger. I like Badger. Yep.
I think there's going to be a tie. I do.
Okay, a tie.
But
You including Wilmot or Westosha in that, or no?
No. I'll say it's going to be Badger and Waterford.
Okay, all right. Way to go out on another big limb there with Waterford. So, all right. Well,
They're going to go. They're going to be. They're each going to be 6-1.
Do Delavan and Elkhorn both make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yes?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't. It's kind of one of those things where somebody isn't going to like you said. There's 5 teams there. I don't know if they can all make it just based on numbers.
Well, and like I say, it's
Somebody has to lose games.
I think we'll know a lot more after the first couple of weeks, because right now you're going off of what the coaches tell you and what they look like on paper, or maybe somebody saw them in a scrimmage and they look great or they didn't look good, and it's preseason to me. It doesn't mean a whole lot. So let's get back to this in a couple of weeks as we head into the full conference schedule, so to speak, in all the conferences but the Big 8.
Yeah.
We're at 29 minutes right now.
Beautiful.
All
Wow,
right.
we're just really good at
Yeah.
talking about high school
I guess
football.
we can
If we didn't
Badger
get enough of it
the
for you
Packers.
in the 30 minutes here, you can pick up this handy dandy preview section and learn even more.
Yes.
And then every Thursday in the paper, Bear here's going to have his preview of every week with a couple of games that he picks, and probably does very poorly on his picks because that's what he does every year.
That's what I do every year.
What did you pick this week? You picked,
I picked the Cougars to beat Beloit. I picked Middleton to beat Parker, and I picked the Comets to run roughshod over the Trojans of East Troy.
Okay. I can't really disagree with you on any of those.
Okay.
I would like to, and I will in more weeks
Okay.
moving forward. But for this week, I'll go along with those.
Okay.
And then we'll have all the coverage Friday night. You can follow along on GazetteExtra.com. Tim Seaman does a great job with that. And
Twitter.
You can
We'll
pick
be
it up.
tweeting.
Saturday's Gazette will have all the scores and standings and such.
Yep. Friday
Prep
Night
Spot
Lights.
is about a week away, but that's our high school page that will start back up here in a couple of weeks. And we'll get you through the season here for 9, 10, 11, 12, hopefully 14 weeks.
14 weeks, yes.
I guess that's enough. I think that's
enough.
what he's trying to
I
tell
think
us.
so, yeah. He's cut. We're getting the cut it sign.
Let us know what you think of the show at GazetteExtra.com, or leave us a comment. You can send us an email to sports@GazetteExtra.com. You can do it on YouTube or iTunes probably too. Who knows what else Andy has.
Send all your memorabilia.
You can even find us on Twitter. Thanks to Andy Ryder for producing and letting us know that we're running super long. And we'll see you back here for week 2. Badgers and Packers will be a little closer, so we can save them for that anyway.
Take care, everybody.